In episode 1, we revealed the invisible war. In episode 2, we showed how China bought the world with infrastructure. In episode 3, we explained why Taiwan could trigger World War III. In episode 4, we exposed how China is killing the dollar. Today, we're going to talk about the most insidious weapon in this entire conflict. Not bombs, not money, not even technology. Information. Specifically, control over what people see, what they think, and what they believe. Right now on your phone, there's an app used by over 1 billion people worldwide. 170 million Americans use it every single day. The average user spends 95 minutes per day on it. It shapes trends. It influences elections. It determines what becomes viral and what disappears into obscurity. TikTok. Most people think it's just entertainment, dance videos, funny memes, harmless fun. But what if I told you TikTok is a weapon? A tool of surveillance more sophisticated than anything the NSA has built. A propaganda machine more effective than Soviet television. A method of behavioral control that makes Orwell's 1984 look primitive. TikTok is owned by ByteDance, a Chinese company. And under Chinese law, ByteDance must share data with the Chinese government upon request. That means every video you watch, every account you follow, every second you spend scrolling, China is watching, learning, building profiles, and using that information against you. This is the story of how China weaponized social media, how they built an algorithm that can manipulate entire populations, and how they're using it to undermine Western democracy from the inside. This is Episode 5, The Information Empire. Let's talk about algorithms, because TikTok's algorithm is different from anything that came before it. Facebook shows you content from people you follow. Instagram does the same. Twitter, YouTube, they all prioritize creators you've chosen to subscribe to. The algorithm suggests new content, sure, but it's mostly based on your existing network. TikTok doesn't work like that. When you open TikTok, you're not seeing content from people you follow. You're seeing whatever the algorithm thinks will keep you watching, from creators you've never heard of, in categories you've never searched for. The entire experience is algorithm-driven from the first second, and the algorithm is terrifyingly good. It doesn't just track what you like or share. It tracks how long you watch each video, whether you watch it to the end or scroll away after 2 seconds, whether you rewatch it, whether you pause it. It tracks your facial expressions through the front camera. Yes, seriously. It knows if you smiled, frowned, or looked confused. It tracks what time of day you use the app, how your usage changes when you're stressed versus relaxed, what content you engage with when you're alone versus in public. It builds a psychological profile more detailed than anything you've told a therapist. And then it uses that profile to show you exactly what will keep you hooked. Here's an example. You watch a video about fitness for 5 seconds and scroll past it. The algorithm notes, not interested. You watch a video about conspiracy theories for 30 seconds. The algorithm notes, very interested. Within minutes, your feed is full of conspiracy content. Within days, you're in an echo chamber. Within weeks, your entire worldview has shifted. This isn't accidental. This is by design. TikTok's algorithm is optimized for one thing: engagement. Keep you watching, keep you scrolling, keep you coming back. Everything else is secondary. But here's where it gets dangerous. Who controls the algorithm? Who decides what gets amplified and what gets suppressed? Who determines what content goes viral and what content gets buried? ByteDance, a Chinese company operating under Chinese law, subject to Chinese government oversight, and that means, ultimately, the Chinese Communist Party controls what 1 billion people see. Think about that. The CCP can't force you to watch Chinese state television. They can't make you read People's Daily, but they can subtly adjust an algorithm so that certain ideas spread and others don't. They can amplify division, suppress unity, promote nihilism, discourage civic engagement, and you'd never know it was happening because it doesn't feel like censorship. It just feels like the content you naturally like. This is the power of algorithmic control, not overt propaganda, not state media, just a carefully tuned recommendation system that shapes reality one video at a time. Let's talk about data, because TikTok collects more data than any app in history. When you install TikTok, you give it access to your camera, microphone, location, contacts, and storage. Most people accept these permissions without thinking. It needs the camera to record videos, they say. Of course it needs the microphone. But TikTok collects far more than it needs. It tracks your keystroke patterns, how you type, how fast, what words you use. It can identify you by your typing rhythm alone, even if you're on a different device. It collects your clipboard data, everything you copy and paste, passwords, credit card numbers, private messages copied from other apps. It scans your photo library, not just the photos you upload, every photo on your device. It uses image recognition to identify faces, locations, objects, building a database of your life. It tracks your device identifiers, IMEI, MAC address, SIM card information. Even if you delete the app and reinstall it, TikTok knows it's you. Even if you use a VPN to mask your location, device fingerprinting reveals your identity. And here's the terrifying part. TikTok has been caught sending all this data to servers in China. Not just user data, device data, network data, everything. In 2022, researchers discovered TikTok's in-app browser was injecting JavaScript code into websites you visit through the app. This code could track every keystroke, every button press, every form you fill out, including passwords, including credit card information, even on secure HTTPS websites. ByteDance claimed it was a bug. Security researchers said it was a feature. In 2023, ByteDance admitted that employees in China had accessed the data of American TikTok users, including journalists, to track down sources of leaks. They had used TikTok's surveillance capabilities to hunt whistleblowers in America. So what does China do with all this data? First, surveillance. TikTok is installed on the phones of U.S. military personnel, government officials, politicians, activists, journalists. Every one of them is being monitored. The Chinese government knows where they go, who they talk to, what they search for online. Second, blackmail. If you've ever used TikTok to search for something embarrassing, something controversial, something you wouldn't want your employer or family to know, China has that information. They can use it for leverage. Third, targeting. If a U.S. official is involved in sensitive negotiations with China, Chinese intelligence can analyze their TikTok data to understand their psychology. What makes them angry? What makes them anxious? What content do they engage with? Use that information to craft targeted influence operations. Fourth, network analysis. By analyzing who follows whom, who messages whom, who shares what content, China can map social networks, identify influencers, detect dissent before it organizes, understand how information flows through American society. This isn't theoretical. This is happening right now. The app on your phone is a surveillance device operated by an adversarial foreign government, and 170 million Americans are voluntarily carrying it with them everywhere they go. Here's something most people don't know. TikTok in China is different from TikTok in the West. In China, the app is called Douyin. Same company, same technology, but the content is completely different. On Douyin, the Chinese version, content is heavily moderated. Educational videos are promoted, science experiments, museum tours, historical documentaries, patriotic content celebrating Chinese achievements, videos showing teenagers solving complex math problems go viral. Screen time is limited for users under 14, 40 minutes per day maximum. The app shuts down between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. to ensure kids aren't using it late at night. Content is aggressively filtered to remove anything the government deems harmful. Douyin is designed to educate and inspire. Now let's talk about TikTok, the Western version. No screen time limits, no nighttime shutdowns. Content moderation is minimal. And the algorithm? It promotes whatever keeps you watching, no matter how destructive. Dangerous challenges that injure or kill teenagers? They go viral. Content promoting eating disorders? Highly engaged. Misinformation about vaccines? Widely shared. Political extremism? The algorithm creates echo chambers. Nihilism and despair? Amplified to maximize engagement. The same company operates both apps, but in China they protect their children and promote excellence. In the West, they exploit addiction and promote dysfunction. Why? Why would ByteDance run two completely different algorithms for the same product? The answer is obvious once you see it. Because TikTok in the West isn't designed to entertain, it's designed to weaken. Think about it from China's perspective. You can't invade the United States militarily. You can't outproduce American industry overnight. You can't directly overthrow the government. But what if you could make an entire generation apathetic, distracted, addicted to dopamine hits from short-form videos? What if you could amplify division, left versus right, race against race, generation against generation? What if you could make people distrust their institutions, their neighbors, their own country? You wouldn't need to fire a shot. The society would collapse from within. This is asymmetric warfare, not tanks and bombs, algorithms and psychology, and it's devastatingly effective. Studies show that TikTok users have shorter attention spans than non-users. They're more likely to experience anxiety and depression. They're less likely to engage in civic activities. They're more politically polarized. They consume news less and entertainment more. And it's not just individual effects, it's societal. When an entire generation is raised on TikTok, what does that society look like? Less informed, more distracted, easier to manipulate, weaker. Meanwhile, in China, Douyin is producing a generation that's disciplined, educated, and proud of their country. This is the great divergence. China and the West using the same technology in opposite directions. One to strengthen, one to weaken. So why doesn't the United States just ban TikTok? The answer is, they're trying, and it's harder than you think. In 2020, President Trump issued an executive order to ban TikTok unless it was sold to an American company. TikTok sued. The ban was blocked in court. The company argued it violated free speech right. In 2023, Congress passed legislation giving the president authority to ban TikTok if it posed a national security threat. TikTok mobilized its users, sending millions of messages to Congress opposing the ban. The outrage was real. "Don't take away our app," teenagers protested. The problem is, TikTok is popular, 170 million American users. Small businesses rely on it for marketing. Creators make their living from it. Banning it would be politically unpopular and economically disruptive. But the alternative is worse, allowing a Chinese-controlled app to surveil and influence the American population. Some propose a middle ground, force ByteDance to sell TikTok to an American company. Problem solved, right? Not quite, because the algorithm is the weapon. The algorithm is proprietary ByteDance technology. If the company is forced to sell TikTok, they'll sell the brand, the user base, the infrastructure, but they'll keep the algorithm's source code, which means the new American owners would have to build a new recommendation algorithm from scratch. And without the algorithm, TikTok is just another video app. Users would leave. The platform would die. So the choice is, ban TikTok and face political backlash, or allow it to continue and accept the national security risk. Meanwhile, China has already won. Because even if TikTok is banned tomorrow, the damage is done. An entire generation has been shaped by it. Attention spans have shortened. Political polarization has deepened. Faith in institutions has eroded. And China has learned. They've seen how effective algorithmic manipulation can be. They're already building the next generation of information weapons. AI-generated content, deepfakes, synthetic media. The technology is advancing faster than regulations can keep up. TikTok is just the beginning. The information empire is expanding, and we're not ready. Let's talk about what comes next, because TikTok is just one app. The broader trend is far more dangerous. China is building a comprehensive information control infrastructure, not just for their own citizens. They've had that for years with the Great Firewall, but for the global population. ByteDance has launched multiple apps beyond TikTok. Lemon8, a lifestyle app targeting younger users. CapCut, a video editing app with over 200 million users. Hypic, a photo editing app. Every one of them collects data. Everyone feeds information back to China. Chinese tech companies are buying stakes in Western social media platforms. Tencent, partially state-owned, has investments in Reddit, Snap, Discord. They're not majority owners, but they have influence and access to data. Chinese manufacturers dominate smartphone production. Xiaomi, Oppo, Vivo, massive market share globally. Every one of their phones runs software with deep ties to Chinese companies. The hardware itself could be compromised. Smart TVs, fitness trackers, security cameras, home assistants. The Internet of Things is expanding rapidly, and an enormous percentage of these devices are made in China. Each one is a potential surveillance node. Then there's AI. China is investing billions into artificial intelligence research. They're building systems that can generate convincing fake videos, fake audio, fake news articles, deepfakes that are indistinguishable from reality. Imagine a scenario. It's 2028, a US presidential election. A deepfake video emerges showing one candidate saying something outrageous. It's AI generated, completely fake, but it looks and sounds real. The video spreads on TikTok. The algorithm amplifies it. Millions see it before fact-checkers can respond. Even after it's debunked, the damage is done. The candidate loses. China didn't hack voting machines. They didn't bribe officials. They just manipulated information. And the democracy collapsed under the weight of manufactured reality. This is the future battlefield, not physical territory, not even cyberspace in the traditional sense. The battlefield is human attention, human belief, human reality itself. And China's already winning, because while the West debates free speech and privacy rights, China is building the infrastructure to control information at a global scale. We're in a new kind of war, a war where the weapons are apps, algorithms, and artificial intelligence. A war where victory isn't measured in territory conquered, but in minds controlled. And the terrifying thing? Most people don't even know the war is happening. So here's where we are. China has built an information empire. TikTok is surveilling hundreds of millions of people. The algorithm is manipulating behavior on a massive scale. The data is being used for espionage and influence operations. And the West is struggling to respond without undermining its own values. This is the fifth pillar of China's strategy: infrastructure, semiconductors, currency, and now information. 4 weapons designed to systematically dismantle American power without firing a shot. In episode 6, our final episode, we're going to bring it all together. We're going to look at 2030. What does the world look like if these trends continue? What does a Chinese-dominated world order actually mean for your life, your freedom, your future? We'll examine 2 scenarios. One where the West wakes up and fights back. One where China wins. And we'll talk about what you, yes, you watching this, can actually do about it. Episode 6, 2030, The Reckoning, the final episode. Coming soon. The information empire is already built. The only question is, will we dismantle it before it's too late?